Residents of Nelson Mandela Bay Metro say they are under siege from criminals. Residents, especially those from the townships, have had to adjust their lifestyles and movements to stay safe. Criminals are now also targeting funerals, robbing mourners and extorting grieving families. The municipality is planning a number of interventions in conjunction with the national and provincial government. A month ago, teams of the police's National Intervention Unit were deployed to Decay and Mthatha. The police minister also engaged the public in Mbizos. The Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality has also set aside 16.4 million rand for efforts to reduce crime and install CCTV cameras in hotspots. Meanwhile, the reign of terror continues. The work done by the police thus far has been commended. The moral decay and loss of traditional values have been highlighted as part of the problem. Several role players have offered to help fight crime. The Nelson Mandela Bay Metro plans to continue its public engagements on crime.
It's painful what is happening in our metro in these days. It's so sad to that extent that people cannot move freely and cannot mourn their loved ones, as they wish because of crime, what is happening in our areas. We are so disturbed as the church. And one of, I think, which I will assist those ministers who have already taken an initiative to make awareness about what is happening when it comes to these extortions and crime. And
this is a bad habit, especially in this area of Decay. It's an unusual thing, we grew up knowing that when someone is having a funeral, the sign would be a tent. Family will erect a tent, but now it has seemed that erecting a tent is attracting criminals. And these criminals, they enter in the house, they rob everybody, and they want the monies that are being donated by the community. And it's a bad act.
Minister Senzo Mchunu has been given a very clear task by President Cyril Ramaphosa. And all of us in government were supporting him in ensuring that we clean our communities of the rot, which is manifesting itself in the form of different forms of criminality, including extortion and so on. And I'm sure you can see that our men in blue, our men and women in blue, are not taking any chance. Wherever and whenever criminals show their ugly head, they are dealt with decisively.
Somebody has to take responsibility because it is what it is today, because there's a failure of governance, failure of the government in the province, failure of policing in the province.
We know exactly what to do. It can never be that it would be a day as usual, whilst our people can never bury their loved one, not decently, where they would have the fear of even, erecting a tent. I would imagine in a weather like this, when someone passes on within the society, it will be difficult for that family to actually bury the person because they are fearing that they will be made to transfer money.
We're now joined by Sanco Eastern Cape Provincial Secretary Tony Duba, and he joins us now via our video link. Mr. Tony, thank you so much for your time this evening here in SABC News. I mean, one would say as the Eastern Cape grapples with problems around extortions, you've seen now a new trend of mourners now being targeted. This problem in the Eastern Cape where mourners and grieving families are being targeted is quite disturbing.
Yeah, thanks very much to you and the viewers at home. Yeah, it's a very serious matter. You see, the challenges that we have in the Eastern Cape, in fact, in Decay and KSD or OR Tambo, I think the crime or the criminal element has actually built itself for quite a long time. It has been allowed to continue unabated, and it flows, of course, from various acts, things that if you take the first issue of 30%, where it became the birth of the construction mafia, because it was a noble thing of 30%, where government felt for a local beneficiation, and it was immediately taken over by the construction mafia. And the second issue, which was very, very prevalent, still prevalent in Gabekha, the issue of the insurance scheme, where families insure one another and eventually they kill each other. And the third issue that was picked up by General Patekile when he was here, it's an issue of legal and illegal foreigners who are operating spaza shop. They get robbed, and all of a sudden, when the case is being followed, somebody else run the spaza where the extortion emanated from. So you do get it get out of hand, it spiral out of control, and you have families. Because the question that you must ask yourself, which we did as Sanco, say these are the issues, hence the community must actually stand up now. Structures must actually stand up and defend communities, because one of the issues that we've picked up is the issue of when the school gets robbed, you will find out that the criminals would know which teacher to go to. And then when this family, or if an old man claim Ralph, or there was an insurance, the criminals will actually know who to go to. And it tells you that there is a linkages within those that know each other, and it's a matter that we can no longer tolerate, and we must. But let me quickly accept and commend the intervention of Minister Senzo Mchunu, and especially when now we see that criminals who are opening fire to police are being killed. Recently, there was a heist in Greenacres, and now it gives us pleasure that when those criminals were followed in N11, they tried to kill police, and police retaliated and killed. And the same thing in Mthatha, that happened.
And Tony, I want us to, not derail here for a moment and talk about the actual issue when it comes, to these families being targeted in the Eastern Cape, the families which are grieving. Perhaps maybe, give us an insight in terms of when these families are being targeted, how is it carried out, in the Eastern Cape?
No, what normally happens is that hence I was giving you the genesis of the whole thing. There was an issue of the insurance scheme where family members amongst themselves, or those who are related, or some of them are not related to each other, and then they will insure each other. And then there was a lot of killing in Nelson Mandela Metro, and police pick up that these killings are associated
with families.
To the funeral schemes or to the insurances to the families. Now, of course, the police picked up that. Now, what then happens? You will have the bereaved family. That bereaved family, criminals who go and attack, whether it's a tent, or they will know exactly the person who has claimed. And it's an issue that does not only talk to families, to the funeral, people who pay on the 25. I mean, councillors, people of the municipality that are getting their paid on 25, they get visited. Those who are paying on the 15, they get visited. So there is a coordination within the criminal element, and they identify these people, they identify these communities, of course, with inside information.
What interventions have been made by the police? I mean, earlier on, you were commending the minister for the work that's being done, in terms of rooting out these issues being faced by a number of people in Gqeberha. What are the interventions which have been put in place now to try and deal with these syndicates?
one of our own resolution, when I'm getting to the intervention, one of our own resolutions at Sanco, we said, let's go back to what used to happen initially. Swipe the police. Police must not stay in one particular place for a long time, up to the extent that they get corrupted by criminals. Swipe the police. And go back to the issue where police were not exposed, and they must be picked up when they go to work, because even them, they become the victims. So what has actually happened recently with the National Intervention Team that we saw in Nelson Mandela Metro, who have been and also the number that has been launched, extortion number that has been launched. We've been going around. On Thursday, we were in Motherwell, where we actually told the communities that they must begin a process of trusting. An extension of a hand between police and communities must actually be established, where police, though I'm talking about the real police, not criminal police, police by day and criminal by night, where police can actually be trusted by communities and community report the cases. And now Jan Ngata, who's actually the district commissioner in the Nelson Mandela Metro, was part of that meeting, and the number was actually dispatched to community, and the communities are now using that number. And what was good about Motherwell is that those criminals that conducted a haste in Greenacres last week, who were in the church that we used.
All right.
Was actually in the close vicinity of the very same where they were actually murdered.
All right, Tony. Tony, I also want to deal with the issue around, it speaks a lot to moral decay in various communities in the Eastern Cape, be it, families, and be it just various members of society. What does it say about values and respect when it comes to, the communities we are living in today's lifetime?
Yeah, we have a serious issues of the ethical conduct owing to families, absent fathers, broken families, and you actually see these young boys actually look at other people, criminals, who actually feed them the poison of drugs and killing the communities. And the second issue is how we have opened our borders. It has nothing to do with the being xenophobia, but the issue of flooding illegal immigrants into our country, and some of them appropriating themselves the right of only being the only owners of the spaza shop. And I must tell you that the illegal, foreign national, legal or illegal, they don't have the sole right to the spaza shop. Yeah. And we picked up that there is a criminal element there, and hence we have actually called on communities and church leaders to come together so that we can fight the crime together.
All right, Tony, thank you so much for your time and for that insight. That is Tony Duba. He is a Sanco Eastern Cape Provincial Secretary, just giving us an insight there in terms of the problems that the communities of Gqeberha have been faced with, be it extortion, be it problems around, funerals and grieving families who are being targeted by criminals.